You're listening to Tom
and Katy
on the Tom and Talk podcast. Let's chop it up. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Tom
and Katy. We're so glad you guys are listening today. Last episode, we talked a little bit about before our marriage and how we met. And today we want to kind of continue this story. So we named today's episode Nowadays.
Where are we nowadays?
Where are we now? But before we jump into that, we wanted to tell you guys this funny story. So babe, you want to tell them about this story that happened?
This is hilarious. So this was around right when we got married, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere around then.
And we were sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
We have a dog named Ghost.
Yes, we love him.
He's a really cool dog. Ghost had some issues with his functions, we'll say, relieving himself. And he's normally really good about going outside.
Yeah, this is probably the only time he's ever had any issues.
That I can remember. I remember coming out into the kitchen, and there was this liquid on the kitchen. I was like, what in the world is this? And we found out that he was having some diarrhea issues. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's disgusting. So later that night, we were both sleeping, and in the middle of the night, you just hear this. Katy wakes up out of a dead sleep, and she's like, no. And Ghost had left his projectiles all over the living room.
Well, it started in our room, and then he went
just,
through the house.
It was gross, but that was a really funny time that we can look back and laugh at, even though it was pretty disgusting. Mm-hmm. But having that it's a solid memory, because I just remember it was like just out of dead sleep, just wakes up, and she's like, I know what just happened. I know that
I don't know. It was weird. It was like I could hear it in my sleep. And I just woke up and I was like, no.
I can't
and it
believe
was like,
this is happening.
It was 4 a.m. or somewhere 3 or 4. It was really early.
It was early in the morning, but that was pretty fun. Time, just that we can look back and laugh at those times, even though it wasn't fun in the moment, but it was really cool. So what we're going to move into is where we are nowadays. Some things that we've learned about marriage. Mm-hmm. Marriage has been a beautiful gift from God for me. I did not expect what we've been through. I grew up watching Disney movies and seeing how Aladdin and Prince Jasmine, is that what her name was?
Yeah, Jasmine.
How they were, this low-life guy and this prince, and they're in love and flying around on a magic carpet and all this stuff. But, they didn't talk about paying bills and,
true.
all this stuff that comes with life. It wasn't always this fairy tale and rainbows idea. Marriage takes commitment and it takes work.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to put time and effort into. And I believe that's the beautiful part about it, is that you're committed to this person, even though they may have struggles and things that they're going through. But there's also beautiful parts about that you get to live life with somebody else that can help you whenever you're down, and that's been something that's really stood out to me. Is it was unexpected, and I had to really change the way that I thought about, my expectations that I've set up about marriage and how we operate in daily life.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not all butterflies and rainbows all of the time.
Yeah.
Like you said, marriage is great. We love being married.
Yeah.
We are for godly marriages. But every day throws challenges at you.
Yeah.
And you don't always know how the other person is going to react to
Yeah.
those challenges. We want to react in a right way, but I will say a lot of times I don't.
Yeah. And I believe that goes into another thing that we've learned is prayer works.
For sure.
There's been many things that we've been through where we've had to just go before God and say, Lord, I don't know what to do. I need your help. This is new for me. This is something that I've not dealt with. I remember we had gotten into a really bad argument one time, and I was ready just to, I was on my way to walk out just to go drive because I normally want to do that whenever I'm really upset. Mm-hmm. And you were like,
I remember.
Don't
this
leave,
Yeah.
And
this was probably when we first.
Yeah, it was like
probably
in our first
year of marriage. Yeah.
And so we were learning how to deal with conflict in that, and it's like, this is a person I'm going to spend my life with. I don't want to be arguing all the time.
Right, because that's not fun.
It's
not peaceful. It's not love.
But in that first year, you're learning how to do life together. There's two different opinions. We grew up differently, and
I'll say this: we both got married a little bit later in life. I would say the later end. We weren't like way past that, but
we both had already graduated college.
And I had bought a house, and I think we were more independent than some people are when they first get married.
We've had a lot more experience being independent than in a relationship.
Right. So we had a lot to learn with each other.
Yeah. So that was definitely challenging. So bringing those things to God and saying, Lord, I don't know how to handle this. I need you to change my mind and help me to learn how to navigate these things, because it was tough, But even in that, it doesn't mean that you can't have fun in the midst of a trial.
Very true.
And there have been many times where we've had to change our perspective and looking at trials from an elevated standpoint, not like, oh, woe is me, but more, man, like, let's laugh about this a little bit.
And I think this is something we're learning right now. And there was a thing that happened. There were several things that kept happening in a row. And I was like, seriously? And I was just kind of stressing out about them. But the first one of them was, y'all, just heads up, this is kind of a gross story. So if you don't want to hear it, you can fast forward a little bit. But our clean out, which is the pipe where the sewer goes outside of your house.
What connects everything inside to the city. And there's like a little vent pipe.
Well, our clean out had been backing up, and we only have one toilet also. Yeah. So when that goes down, it's hard to deal with. But our clean out outside had been backed up. This was right before we were going to leave our house to go to visit my parents in Charleston. And I had let you know about it. Yeah. And you were like, oh, it'll probably just go down. So we just decided to leave it. It wasn't super bad. We decided to leave it to see if it would resolve itself. Came back and found out it did not resolve itself.
Like a volcano of toilet paper.
There was like toilet paper coming out of it and other bodily stuff. Nasty stuff. So I was like, babe, we have to do something. And also, guys, it was after Christmas. We're kind of broke. Okay, we didn't have a lot of money
how to deal with this,
to pay a plumber to come out. So
you do what most people do, and you call somebody that has a little bit more experience.
Correct.
So I called my dad, and I said, Dad, here's the issue. He's like, oh, that's easy. He's like, get a plunger and just go out to the clean out and plunge it. And I was like, that seems simple enough.
And this is how I know this man really loves me.
So I get the plunger and I go out there, and I'm in Crocs and and
Socks.
socks. All right? Crocs and socks.
If you ever have a backed out clean out, I recommend wearing rain boots, not Crocs.
Something that will protect you. Because I was not expecting what happened next.
But anyways.
And so I put the plunger on there and I start plunging it. And it's like, it's going. I'm pushing it. And I pull up and I go to push down again. It's just like, and I was like,
I felt so bad. I was standing outside on the porch for moral support.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm already in this. And I already got stuff on me and on my shoes. And I was like, this is disgusting. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying all that I can to try and make this go down. And it's just not working.
And what did you say to me when we came back inside?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was...
You said, Katie, I love you because I put up with all your crap.
Yeah. Oh, dad joke for the win. And it was definitely a nasty situation. Mm-hmm. But when you become homeowners, that's the things that come with that. Normally, if I was dealing with that in an apartment, I'd be like, I'm calling maintenance.
Yeah.
Because I'm not about to deal with that. And so the story goes on. I reached out. I was like, all right, we didn't want to spend $100 to rent a plumbing snake from Home Depot.
Right.
So we reached out to some friends of ours, and they're like, yo, do you got a snake or anything?
Or know someone that has one we could just borrow for just like a little bit. And
they did.
Yes.
But it was like from the 1800s. It was this old like steel snake. And I said, all right. It's free. I'm not going to complain. So I get in there. It's one
of those ones you just shove down there.
Yeah.
It doesn't twist or anything. It's just like you push it down the pipe.
And so I'm out there trying all I can. And I'm like, this is just not working. Mm-hmm. And so we pray. And we're like, God, I don't know what to do. And Katie is just like, well, what if I just call the city?
So I called the city and... The guy I talked to was super nice. He's like, yeah, we'll come out tomorrow and jet it, which was not at all what I was expecting. I thought they were going to tell me, oh, well, you got to call a plumber for that. So I was like, great. I hung up the phone. He said he'd be there the next morning because it was kind of later in the afternoon. I said, that's fine. And he did end up coming over. I think it was like the early afternoon.
Yeah, we were both at work.
We were both at work. We saw his VIN come up on our security system. Yeah. And so they did jet it. They didn't call me after they had finished, so I was kind of anxious to get home.
Incognito just showed up and did the job and got out.
So I was anxious to come home and see if it had fixed the problem. So I come home. I creep over to the pipe because it was, kind of stinking at this point.
Yeah.
But it had fixed the issue. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. For free.
Yeah.
At least that we know of because he didn't quote me a price or anything. Yeah. So looked in the pipe. It was clear. But around the pipe, it had...
a mud pie.
And I was like, great. What are we going to do? So I called you.
You're like, I'm not picking this up. And I'm like, well, what do you expect me to do about it?
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I have this thing. It's the workshop is what I like.
The workshop.
Yeah. I put it in there and I put a problem in there and it's just like in the back of my mind and it figures out stuff. And one day it's like, all right, I'm done, bing. And then I have this solution. So I get home and I was like, all right, we just got to get this over with. So I get gloves on and I learned from my last mistake. I changed out of my Crocs.
Yes. So
and
glad
I put
you
these rain boots that I had, I put those on and I told Katie, I said, make a bottle with bleach. I said, we need to sanitize this. And I went and got a shovel and a gardening hoe.
Yes.
And so I basically...
Well, not just you, I did too.
Yeah, well, you helped. And so we just, cleaned up the mess.
We did.
And...
we were joking about it the whole time.
It completely down. Mm-hmm. And Katie's like, I've done this like cleaning up kids, and because she's changed diapers and stuff, but she's like, nothing like this, and I'm
It
laughing.
was like 100 dirty diapers put together, and
I'm laughing, and I'm like, stop making me laugh, because I'm trying to pick up this shovel, and I'm laughing. I feel like I don't have any strength, and so I was like, be quiet. I'm trying to work here, and eventually, we got everything cleaned up, and praise God for that, man.
And thank you to our trash guys. We're so sorry.
Well, we're sorry, but you get paid to do your job. So,
dang.
But you have to have, even in the midst of those issues, those trials, those nasty everyday things that happen. You have challenges and you have celebrations, but you have to make fun. There's joy in that. I think that the Bible says that there's joy in the presence of the Lord. And even in inviting God into those issues and like, all right, Lord, like, what would you do here? Because I don't even know how to go about it.
Oh, I'm sure Jesus would have been cracking this the whole time.
So we're like trying to, make sure everything's picked up, and just, you got to have fun.
Yeah, we definitely had fun. And the prayer was also answered.
Yeah, because
it didn't cost us anything. Yeah. They came out and did it for us, and we're just so thankful. So thank you to the city sewer. Yeah, they
helped us out for sure. And it's just having those little prompts that pop into our mind. I believe it's how God speaks to us sometimes. It's just an idea that shows up there. So
babe, let's talk about, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
How do you think that you've grown individually in our marriage, but also how do you think we've grown together?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I think for me, marriage will pull a lot of stuff out of you that you didn't know was there. Whenever we had conflict arise in our relationship, I would tend to take things personally, like more like you were attacking me instead of trying to help me through something.
Yeah.
And what this has taught me is not all conflict is bad, but how we approach it is key to either us growing in our relationship or destroying it. So I had to understand that you're not perfect.
I am not.
You have your own things that you've dealt with. And I was holding you to this standard of perfection, which is not healthy at all. I'm thinking like, man, she's got everything together and she's upset with me. And I'm not thinking about what you're going through.
I think we do that a lot, even with other people, like at our job or in our government or even in our church.
And we don't think that our standards that we hold people to are very off. We think that because you're seeing you don't know what their internal struggles are.
And they're not perfect.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's perfect except God. So I had to understand that. And then I also as I was exploring that, I realized that I was holding myself to the same standard. And whenever you were pointing something out or saying something that I did wrong, I took it as an attack because I'm like, no, like I got to be perfect. I can't believe she's doing this, And that's why I believe that the grace of God is so important. Not only that we receive grace from God, but that we also give it to other people. And that's something that has really changed my mindset on how I deal with conflict in not only our relationship, but in relationships with other people. They're not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. We're called to be holy, set apart as God is holy. We're working out this salvation with fear and trembling before God. We have to give grace because we don't always have it all together. And so that's something that I've gained a lot of understanding through our relationship. So what about you?
Well, something I've learned since being married is how to accept help and affection. Yeah. I feel that before we got married, whenever I was wanting affection, I received from others. When I got affection from others, it didn't feel right. Yeah. Because there was either a lack of commitment or it felt like I had to earn it.
Yeah.
And I think with marriage, because there's commitment there,
Yeah.
and I know where we stand, you
Yep.
know, we're in it. I was going to say in it to win it, but that's not really. But we're in it to the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of that unconditional love. I know you're not going to leave me
And it's a choice.
it's a choice.
Yeah.
And so affection was received more in a healthy way since being married. But also because I didn't get married, like we talked about, we didn't get married until later in life. Yeah. I was used to being very independent. And
Yep.
I had bought a house right before we started dating. I think a few months before we had started dating. I think I bought it in July.
Yep.
And then we started dating in September.
Yep.
But on top of that, I also worked a full-time job as a teacher. And I worked a part-time job. And balancing everything was difficult, but I was used to it. Like, I was used to taking care of myself, doing the house chores, cooking, laundry, all those little things that have to get done on my own. Yeah. So when we got married, it was challenging for me to first ask for help or let you help. And it's something I'm still getting used to because I like the house to be clean all the time, which is not a healthy standard, talking about standards. But I had to learn how to receive that from you. Yeah. Is kind of what I've learned through our marriage.
For sure. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to want to have a clean house or make sure everything's done, but you can't burn yourself out on those things, you know? And I don't know, me growing up, I lived in a messy house when I was younger. I don't like mess at all. And if there is a mess, it needs to at least be organized in some kind of way.
Right. You know, and I think that's another thing is being okay that the house isn't going to be 100% clean, picked up all of the time. Like, that just isn't realistic. If you do have your house like that all the time, please send me please send me your tips and tricks. But also, I think for us it's a little harder because we also don't have a dishwasher, so we hand wash all of our dishes. So keeping up with dishes is difficult sometimes.
I remember growing up, that's all I did when I came home was dishes. So it doesn't bother me to do them, and I don't know, just getting it done. You know, that we talked about that, I believe on our last episode, was just finding time to knock out those small things. You might not be able to get all the dishes done, but you can get 2 or 3 done, you know, in a 5-minute span. Yeah. Just knock it out.
But also just giving yourself grace. Yeah. If you have a lot to do, just take a breath.
Yeah.
And breathe,
prioritize,
pray, and try to relax. It's okay if all the dishes aren't done.
And what is beautiful about this, and I believe we talk about ways that we've grown together, is to keep each other accountable to our individual goals, not seeing each other as like a roommate, but as a spouse that we do life with. You know, the Bible says that we're one body. We became one flesh. And so what I do in service to Katy is a benefit to not only her, but also to us as individuals, but as a body that's growing together. You know, we don't want to be in conflict with each other. So keeping each other accountable to those goals that we believe that God is speaking to our heart helps us to grow in that together. So what do you think about that?
I think that's so true. I liked what you said about when you do something in service, it's not just for yourself. Like doing the dishes isn't just for me. It has benefits for both of us. Number one, you get clean dishes. Yep. Number two, it saves the other person time and both of us time.
It's not your job to do dishes. It's our job because we both live together.
Even though you say I am the dishwasher.
You got to have fun.
That's true.
And so it's we have those little jokes that we have, little jokes that we say to each other. And I think they're fun, you know, to have fun with that and just kind of picking at each other. But it's true. You know, we live together. This is not, you know, Tom goes to work all day and then Katy takes care of the house. There has to be balance. There has to be communication to say, hey, babe, like, I need help with this. We talked about that before. I know that we have worked on putting together a chore list, trying to get those things together. I started doing my own laundry because Katie likes to separate things out. I really don't care about things that shrink or not. It's just, I was like, all right, I'll do my own just to make it easier because
it has helped.
Yeah, it takes a whole lot off of you.
So going off this, we're talking about, getting everyday things done, which a lot of people go through. But what are some challenges that you've seen from us being married?
We're going to talk about this.
Okay.
Are you ready for this question?
I don't know.
What do you want to eat?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like this is a common question.
Oh, it definitely is.
That a lot of married or
people in relationships,
people dating,
what do you want
struggle
to eat?
with is, what do you want to eat tonight? Especially when you haven't pulled meat out the freezer.
Yeah.
And you're trying to decide where to go to eat.
And then, whatever you want to eat, that's where we'll go. All right, well, let's go get Chinese. I don't want that.
But that is true. Sometimes I want you to pick, but there's like one or two that I really don't want you to pick.
Yeah. And it's those are the, just pick something, like, where are we going? I remember I even said that we're going to put the different restaurants that we like in a bag, like a little bag or whatever.
So this might be a helpful suggestion for y'all. We have not tried it yet, but we've talked about it. Is when we can't decide or nobody wants to make a decision about what they want to eat or where to go, you just you get a little jar, write some restaurants on a piece of paper, put them in the jar, like fold them up, put them in there, and whatever you pick out of the jar, you have to go. There's no take backs.
No take backsies, nothing.
So either make a decision or pick out of the jar.
So that's a funny. I want to know what people what are your like, what have y'all went through with this? Where do you want to eat?
How did y'all deal with it?
I want to hear, because there might be some nuggets of truth out there or something that somebody's cracked the code, you know, on that.
So that is a challenge in relationships and marriage. Yeah. But besides that, what is another challenge you think that we've faced?
I believe hearing what's not being said. Right?
That's a good one.
So going off of what do you want to eat, there's some times where you're angry about something and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm thinking, and maybe you're just hungry. You know?
Sometimes I just need a Snickers
and
bar.
you're hangry, as they call it.
Hangry.
You know? And it's like hearing what's not being said. And there's something that we found on, I think it was Instagram, and I think it's the most helpful information that I've received for marriage.
Okay, y'all are going to laugh, but it is very, we've
really
implemented it, and it has helped.
It helped out a lot.
Especially in those moments where you're frustrated, but you don't really know why, or you don't really want to talk about it in that moment. This is just a little...
It helps to identify what's going on. So I don't know who I found it on. I know I seen it one day just flipping through Instagram, I believe it was. And they're called the 4 H's. So if you're in a situation where tensions are high, you say, babe, do you need to be helped? Do you need to be heard? Do you need to be held? Or do you need to be humped? And so it really labels out, what do you need? Because there's some times where, in my mind, you know, you're upset about something or you're having issues at school and I'm trying to ramble off all these ideas and you're just like, no, like I just want quiet. I just need to talk about this.
Yeah, or to talk.
Yeah. And you just need somebody to hear you, you know? So in those moments I say, all right, babe, like what do you need right now? How can I help you? You know, we're one body. We're together. I need to help you through this. If you need to be heard, if you need to be held or helped or whatever it is, you know, and of course, like, you know, the humped part is, it's serious because that's intimacy between us, but it's still adding in that level of humor.
Affection and
Yeah,
humor.
and humor because not everything has to be so serious.
Very
And I
true.
think that we get so caught up on, oh no, this is serious. I get it. But humor will bring so much lightness to those things.
What is that verse it says in the Bible about laughter? I think it's like laughter is medicine for the soul.
Yeah, I believe that's how it says it. We'd have to look that up, but it is true. I mean, laughing, bringing joy to a situation, not everything has to be so serious all the time, So that definitely has helped out. And also learning how to balance life together. That's been a challenge.
Yeah, especially I feel like in the season we're in right now.
Yeah.
Is kind of what we're learning because Thomas works full time.
Mm-hmm.
I work full time. I also tutor a student after school for 3 hours a week, and I'm in grad school. And now we've started this podcast, so we have to be consistent in that. But also, we're trying to be consistent in spending time with the Lord and making sure, that's our number one priority.
Spending time with each other.
Spending time with each other, spending time with our friends.
And not just you were in the same room together, but quality time where you are engaging with each other, you're talking about your life, your trials, whatever's going on, and then like you're saying, also having those quality friendships because if you're not keeping up with that, you don't want friends just to dissipate. I mean, there's friends I've had in high school and in college I don't even talk to anymore.
Yeah, you have to put effort into those relationships,
and of course it's two ways.
Right.
They have to as well, but if it's something that's important in prioritizing those circles that you have to put that time in, and not just zone out to Netflix and Instagram and just completely missing life.
Right.
You have to balance things out. There's a place for everything, and the Lord will give us direction on how to organize everything. But you have to have these are solid points in my life. This is what I anchor into. I'm spending time with God. I'm spending time with my spouse. I'm doing what God has called me to do, using my gifts and talents to multiply the message of the kingdom, or just helping people out and not wasting time.
Yeah. And like I said, this is kind of where we are right now in life, is just learning how to balance life. And we did talk about this a little bit in our second episode about why planning is so important. So Thomas and I are trying to eliminate those time wasters in order to save time, but also planning things out so that it's not as hectic now.
And also encouraging each other through that, because we even had that before we came in to record.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to do this. It's like, I understand, babe. I was like, but this is what we signed up for. This is a commitment that we've made. And we prayed.
Right.
Just ask God, hey, we need you right now. We want to be able to get through this. And
now we're having fun together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just something that we want to do just to do it. We want people for the audience, for you listening, to gain something, an insight or whatever it is from the Lord, or just things that we have done in our life to help you. Like, we need each other. We're the body of Christ. And that's the whole point of this, is to encourage each other.
Uplift each other.
Yeah. And we need that.
So I think to sum all of this up is we want you guys to know that marriage, and I'm sure you guys know this, but marriage is different than what it is portrayed on TV by Hollywood. It is not all rainbows and butterflies, because we all go through different challenges. But we believe that marriage is truly a blessing.
It absolutely is. A story of two people becoming one, living a committed and fulfilling life together. That is what's beautiful. Even though there's challenges that we have, there's also those celebrations that we have as well. And I think about the verse that says, may no man separate what God has knitted together. And that's what I want over our life, is that I stand as the priest of our home. I stand in the gap and intercede for you and pray for you. And
I'm your helper.
Yeah. And we we war together in the spirit. You know, this is not just a natural life that we see. That there's a supernatural, spiritual, natural, a supernatural life that we don't see. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that's where the issues are. You know, if you're not drawing in near to the Lord, if you don't know the word, if you're not engaging with God through that intimate time, there's things that can really catch us off guard. Yeah. And those are places where I have to say, Lord, like, you got to show me my blind spots.
So here's our challenge for you guys today. We would like y'all to write down a plan for when you have disagreements, specifically with your spouse or your significant other. We want to know, how are you going to approach conflict resolution, especially in those tough times when it gets a little bit difficult?
Absolutely. And to create an environment of peace to discuss the issue. I believe that that's really important, because in the moment our emotions can get in the way and we may say something that we don't mean, you know, but it's just that flesh rising up. So even if you need to say, hey, I'm really upset right now, let's get together tonight and talk about what happened. You know, you're not pushing it off and saying whatever, but you're setting aside a time to think logically and not letting emotions be involved with that. So
we want to hear from you guys. Let us know if anything in today's episode has helped you. And also, if you have any other like tidbits that you guys use, like we use the 4 H's we talked about. Yeah. If you have another suggestion, please leave it below in the comments. Yeah. But also, we want to know, do you have any other topics you want us to cover? Because we want to engage with you guys. Yeah. We want to hear from you, and we definitely want to talk about what you guys are facing as well.
Absolutely. So y'all let us know. So until next time, it's Tom
and Katie
on the Tom and Talk podcast.
See you later.